Ve'ela mishpatim asher tosim lefneim, and these are the laws they should put in front of them. Mishpatim means civil and criminal laws which are self-understood. As Rashi comments, laws recorded in the Torah that if they had not been given, it would have been appropriate to institute them in any case. These laws should have been instituted regardless. Furthermore, these laws are self-evident, not only to the Jewish people, but also to the nations of the world, such that it is feasible that a secular law is identical to a Jewish law. For this reason, it is stated that the beginning of the Parsha, and these are the laws, to which Rashi comments, these are also from Sinai, meaning that even these laws, which are rationally dictated by the human mind, must be observed not because of their intellectual credibility, but because they are God's commands. It is only that God wanted these commands to be understood by man. But when we fulfill these laws, not only because we understand it and make sense, we do it because God's command. For this reason, these laws are placed before them and not before the nations, before us, before the Jewish people, even where their decision would coincide, since the laws are based on human reason, and it is necessary to observe our precepts as divine decrees. At a deeper level, it could be argued that the concept of Mishpatim from Sinai implies that the very essence of rationality itself was also implemented at Sinai. The fact that it makes sense to us, this was implanted at Sinai. If it were not for the criminal and civil laws being given at Sinai, human intelligence would have not been able to fathom them, just like the other super-rational commandments. The rational nature of the laws is a result of God's will, which is intrinsically unfathomable, being invested in His Torah, since the Torah is the record and register which was used to create the world. It says, Hashem looked at the Torah and created the world. These laws became compatible with the fabric of the world and commensurate with human understanding. Consequently, the human mind, including that of non-Jews, naturally tends towards the wisdom of God, which is precisely what was communicated at Sinai. This was based on the Rebbe's Sikha on Shabbos Parsha Mishpatim 5752. Now, Ve'ela Mishpatim asher tosim lifneim, and these are the laws you shall present before them. Wherever it says Eile ve'eile, whatever section begins with Eile, these, it rejects something previous. But whatever a section begins with ve'eile, not eile, and these, it adds to something previous. What was previous? To tell us, just the same way that the first commandments were given at Sinai. These laws that we're going to read about were also given at Sinai. And why these laws were right next to the Parsha, this section is dealing with civil laws placed following the section about the construction. We're going to read in Parsha Stum about the building of the altar, to tell you that you shall place the seat of the Sanhedrin next to the temple. That's where the Sanhedrin were. 71, 23, or next to the temple. Asher tosim lefneim says you shall present before them. Omar LaKadosh Baruch Hu LaMoshe, Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, L'tayla al dat choloma. Let not enter your mind to say, I shall teach them this chapter or halacha 2 or 3 times until they are fluent in it exactly according to its wording, but I will not take the trouble to make them understand the reason of each thing or its explanation. Therefore it says, Asher tosim lifneim, that you shall place before them like a table laid before a person ready for eating. Lifneim velo lifnei goyim. It says, but lifneim, before them, but not before non-Jews. And even if you know in a certain case that they judge it the same way as Jewish law does, do not bring it for judgment in their courts. For whoever brings lawsuits involving Jews before a non-Jewish court profanes the name of God and gives honor to the name of the idolatry by which that court administrates justice, by giving it undue importance. That's why it says, Ki lo yechatzureinu tzurom v'oiveinu plilim, Parshas Azinu. Shoiveinu plilim ze eidus le'ilu yirosam. Which may imply that when we make our enemies judges over us, it is testimony to the superiority of their deity. Therefore we shouldn't do that. Ki sikne v'divri shei shonim yaved uvashvis yeitze lechofshi chinam. If you buy an Ivri servant, a servant who is an Ivri, Hebrew, or maybe this is not its meaning, but it means the servant of an Ivri, a Canaanite servant whom you bought from another Israel, and about him it says, Shei shonim, he shall serve you for 6 years. How would I then explain the verse, V'isnachaltem eisum, you should hold the Canaanite servant as a heritable possession? It refers to a servant bought from a non-Jew, but one bought from Israel goes, if it's a Jew, goes free after 6 years of service. The Torah therefore teaches us about this by saying elsewhere, the Torah tells us if your Ivri brother is sold to you, he shall serve you for 6 years. I said this only about one who is your brother. So why would you buy an Ivri servant? It says, from the hand of the court who is selling him on account of his theft. As it says, if he does not have with what to pay, then he shall be sold for his theft. Or maybe not, and the verse is referring to one who sells himself as a servant out of poverty. But one who is sold by the court does not go free after 6 years of service. This cannot be, for when it says there's another pasuk, and if your brother who is with you becomes poor and is sold to you as a servant, the law about one who sells himself as a servant out of poverty is stated. How then do I explain our verse, Kisikne, if you buy? It must refer to one who is sold by the court, that after 6 years it goes out. Lachofshi lecherus, to freedom. In begapoy ovoi, begapoy, it says in begapoy ovoi, if he was not married. If he enters service alone. The term begapoy in his wing, meaning that he entered service just as he was alone, in his clothing, in the wing of his garment. We'll learn from here that if at the beginning when he entered service he was not married, his master may not give over to him a Canaanite maidservant for him to father from her more Canaanite servant. The only time a master is allowed to give a Canaanite maidservant to his servant, only if he was married before, if he has a wife and kids, Jewish wife and kids. If he comes without nothing, or he comes with a wife, his wife goes out with him. If his master would give him Isha, a woman, and she gives birth, she gives children to him, sons or daughters, the woman and the children would stay with the master, and he goes out by himself. Now, V'im Omar Yoimar Ho'eved, if the servant says, Omar Yoimar, he has to say it twice, repeatedly says, Ohavti es Adoni, he says, I love my master. Es Ishti, and I love my wife. Ve'es Bona, and I love my children. Lo Yetzachofshi, I'm not interested in going out. He wants to stay in servitude. והגיש עדינו ולאלוהים, והגיש הדלת שלו מזוזה ורוצה עדינו וסוזנו במרצע ועבוד אל האלוהים. Then his master takes him to the door, the opposite of the mezuzah, and he pierces his ear with an awl, A-E-W-L, with an awl. ועבוד אל האלוהים. Then he becomes a servant forever. What does it mean forever? Until the Jubilee year. There's no such a thing forever. 49 years. If the Jubilee year comes 2 years after or a year after he pierced his ear, he goes out. And if a man sells his daughter as a maidservant, she shall not go free as a manservant. She has different laws. If she is displeasing in the eyes of a master who should have designated her as a wife for himself, then he shall assist in her redemption. If he is disloyal to her, if he chooses to marry someone else, he is not empowered to sell her to another person. You can't flip a maidservant. You can't flip her. Or if he designated her to his son, for his son, he shall accord her with the same rights as other girls. If he chooses to take another wife, if he chooses to have two wives, he has to give her, he has to make sure to give her, if he takes himself an additional wife, he must not reduce her allowance, food and clothing, nor her marital rights. If he is unable to give her these three things, allowance of food, clothing, and marital rights, then she goes out free at no cost. At no cost. Make ish v'meis, moisyumos. And the Torah tells us, he who strikes a man so that he dies must be put to death. ואשר לא יצוד ולמינו להודו ושמתי לך מוקום, מוקים אשר יונוס שומע הריצח. אשר יונוס שומע, if someone killed somebody, it was not premeditated murder, it was by mistake. ואשר לא יצודו, he did not lie in wait for this victim, but God caused it to happen to him. So then it says, I will assign you a place. Assign you a place, the city of refuge, where he can run, he may flee. V'chiyozid ish al re'eyu, ve'orgei be'orma means b'chiti kochenu lomus. But if a man acts deliberately against his fellow man to kill him cunningly, even from my altar, even if he runs to the city of refuge or to the altar, you shall take him to die. Someone that strikes his father or mother must be put to death if he causes him to bleed. A person steals someone and he sells them, he is liable to death. Someone who curses his father and mother, using God's name, and when he curses them, must be put to death. If two people fight with each other, and one strikes his fellow man with a stone or with a fist, and the victim does not die, but he is confined to bed, he becomes sick. If he gets up and walks about with his former strength, then the one who hits him will be absolved. He shall, however, pay for his lost work time and provide for his complete recovery. Buch and Tio.